What's good in the hood, YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing you another video. Today's video is on Power Rangers Dino Charge. Now before I start, I just wanted to mention to you guys that in my previous video I mentioned that my lighting is not good, so if anyone's wondering again why I'm down here, it's because I'm having trouble with one of my main lights in my room. As soon as that's fixed, everything will be back up in my room, but for now at least I need to do this review here. And believe me, I will leave messages in this video and in my previous video and on my channel when everything's fixed. But for now, we're gonna have to do it here. So anyway, let's move on with the review. So as I said before, this is for Power Rangers Dino Charge episode 5. Now, the name of the episode is called Breaking Black. Okay, so obviously, as you may have guessed, we're gonna finally get some detail on our Black Ranger, which I have been waiting for a very long time now because, to be honest with you, we already have a really good amount of information for all these other characters, but Black has been the one, but our Black Ranger Chase has been the one character who we haven't really gotten that much to really go on when it comes to knowing who he is and why should we care about him. And I'm just looking forward to, and I've been waiting for this episode because I really just wanted to know a little bit more about him because I was personally curious. So, the episode starts off with Chase working the grill in the the restaurant in the museum that they work in. So he's burning burgers. He's also spilling sauce on a table. He's not really focused, and that's one of the key aspects of this episode: him being focused, because he's not. But we learn interesting things about him. So what happens is we end up seeing that he's easily distracted. He ends up like finding a girl and he instantly goes over and talks with her, tries to hit on her, and then he forgets to turn off the grill, which ends up burning the grill, which ends up causing other problems, which could potentially expose their base. So that's not good. And just in general, Chase obviously can't focus. We then see a scene with but then following this, we end up seeing Chase end up being focused on this lady that he knows, who owns like this antique and black magic kind of shop or whatever. That she has like random items or whatever in it. So, and her name is like Murata. I'm just gonna call her that. Or it's like Mona or Murata. I'm just gonna call her Murata. So she seems like a nice lady. She's a little bit more mysterious. And she's just an interesting character, but Chase like trusts her completely, feels something for her, but the other Rangers think that he's not going to do much of anything, he's not going to help out at all, things aren't going to go well, it's just going to be a mess. But Murata asks Chase to guard her shop because she's going away for like a day or so. The thing is that Chase really can't focus, and while he's there, at first, though he seems like he's going to be focused, he ends up, goofing off, listening to music, playing games, and then falling asleep at one point, and this results in the villain for the episode, Spellbinder, appearing, and he ends up stealing a device that looks like a kind of like one of those circular like wheel like things that you could have, and for like a grate or something like that. It's hard to explain. It's like a little wheel. I might have an image of it. Anyway, regardless, following this, Spellbinder steals that item, and Chase wakes up. Chase hears Spellbinder and like freaks out and says, "Hey, you can't take that" or whatever. And then suddenly Spellbinder uses that device and shoots a beam from that device onto Chase. Chase then has his eyes changed from their normal color to becoming green, and I mean like bright green. And when his eyes turn to this bright green, which looks really evil and really nasty or whatever, his mind becomes all confused and he has problems or whatever, and Spellbinder starts running away. Chase then starts to go after him. He's feeling pain and all that, but as soon as he gets on his skateboard, that's when he loses that control, that sensation of those green eyes occurring, where he's able to focus. And it's interesting how that is, and that's going to become very important as this episode goes on. So from here, we end up seeing Chase following Spellbinder all the way into some building or whatever, and fighting him. the thing is that when he gets off of his skateboard, he ends up feeling that pain from before with his eyes, and his mind's all screwed up, and so he falls over at one point, and he just can't control himself. The other Rangers appear. They try to fight Spellbinder. The biggest problem with Spellbinder is the fact that he's first of all really quick, and second of all the fact that his cape is so useful because it's super hard, super durable, and it's something that really can deflect most attacks that the Rangers will use. So if they shoot a gun at him, he can just bounce those bullets right away or back or whatever. I mean, we haven't really seen them bounce back, but regardless, you get my point. And just in general, it's not really that great for him, in general. So obviously this doesn't go well. They try lots of different things. What ends up happening at one point is that Tyler ends up fighting Spellbinder, and Spellbinder grabs onto Tyler, and then Chase comes out. Chase finally gets up after like falling over and is trying. And the thing is that Tyler's held in front of Spellbinder, and he has to make sure to not shoot Tyler. The thing is that since he's not, the thing is that Chase has those green eyes again, and Chase needs to, and the thing is that those green eyes create problems for him, because what happens is that when Spellbinder says, "Go on, shoot your friend. You know you want to. You should shoot your friend." And the thing is that when that happens, Chase's mind starts going all crazy, and Chase knows that he shouldn't shoot his friend, but at the same time, he's being told. And the thing is that the beam that was shot out at him before actually can control his mind, and just by Spellbinder telling him things. So Spellbinder saying "shoot your friend" could potentially result in him shooting his friend. Fortunately, Chase isn't completely under his control yet. So the thing is that instead of him shooting his friend, he manages to drop the gun entirely, and the other Rangers manage to attack Spellbinder. They do not destroy Spellbinder, but they do attack him. But eventually, Spellbinder does get away. Following this, we end up seeing some other interesting stuff. We end up seeing that Spellbinder talks to ends up speaking to Sledge, and Sledge's like complaining about how Spellbinder's like, you were supposed to brainwash all the Rangers, not just like all the Rangers. What did you do? You didn't do anything. All the Rangers are still fine. And it's like, and Spellbinder's like, but I brainwashed one of them. Well, good, but you should make sure, but make sure that you really brainwash that one Ranger, because as long as you have one, you will be able to get them all under your control, and it's true. Because the whole entire point is that by putting them all under Spellbinder's control, he can eventually control them all, use them for his own uses, and even claim their energems if needed. So that's all good for his sake. So following this, we end up seeing the Rangers back in their base, and them talking to Kendall at first. Kendall hears about how Spellbinder has this like really powerful cape and all that, and she mentions that she mentions that she's been making this special Dino charger, which is known as the Dino Spike. And for those that have watched Kiro Oger, the Dino Spike is the equivalent to Kento Spiker. So if you've watched Kiro Oger, then that's the equivalent. So it's an awesome weapon, and yeah. So following this, we end up seeing Keeper examining Chase, and Chase every once in a while showing those green eyes again. And Chase is told not to go with the Rangers, to go after Spellbinder. So that happens. Trying to look for 1 second here what else there is. Right, okay, I thought so. So following this, we then see a scene where all the Rangers except for Chase go to Murata, who is back at her shop at this point, and Murata tells a story about Chase and how he is a person that she was able to trust, and why she definitely felt that it was necessary to trust Chase with protecting her shop. And the reason why is we see this flashback where Chase was sitting on like a bench outside of her shop at one day, and what happened is that there was this like cart that that had something wrapped inside of it, and the cart started going a distance away, going down some hills, going down some rocky terrain, and Chase hears Murata scream out when she starts seeing the cart going down and all that, and Chase gets on a skateboard, goes riding down, fully focused, and goes as fast as possible, trying to go and stop the cart. Now this, if you watch the Ninja Encounter episode, it's a Ninja Encounter episode from Mighty Morphin. I think it was like I want to say it's season 2, or no, it's either season 2 or season 3. I want to say it's season 2 of Mighty Morphin. Yeah, it's a lot of it resembles that in a way, although it's obviously not two different teams, two different groups of characters. It's Chase, but I have that kind of vibe going off with the Ninja Encounter thing. Similar vibe, yeah, definitely. For those that have definitely watched that, you will definitely understand what I'm saying with the Ninja Encounter thing. Anyway, following this, he ends up stopping it before the car ends up being smashed, like crashed into by a bus or like a truck or something like that. I can't tell for real based off of the imagery that I saw. And fortunately he ends up grabbing the thing that was inside of the cart. What was in the cart was this adorable cat that he ended up rescuing, and he's like, I just saved a adorable cat. He knows that it's insane, but at the same time he's like, it is a cute cat, so he doesn't care. And Murata feels something for him and loves how he was willing to do that for her and put his life on the line for her. And this was before he even had his Dino Charger. Now, you may think, why do I even say that? I mean, his Energem. The reason why is because Murata says, come into my shop, I have something for you that I think you deserve after rescuing my cat. And what she ends up getting out when she goes into her shop is that she ends up grabbing this like tiny box. Inside the box is the black Energem. Yes, Murata had his black Energem, and that just amazes me. The fact that, okay, we've had all these other characters, and yet he's the one that, for some reason, another person had it. And you may think, why is that also interesting? Well, also there's a funny moment that comes after that where Cody's like, you know, I lived thousands of years and I had to get mine like in a cave where I almost got killed, and Chase just got it handed to him. Really, this is completely reasonable. Like, Chase got off easy by comparison, and I love how Coda says that, and it is true. I mean, most of these guys, like, they end up getting into a fight, which results in them getting it. Although, yeah, no, that's pretty much right. Yeah, but like usually these guys get into a fight. Chase is the only one that basically just, you know, hello, I have it. No fight, no nothing happens after that. And it's true. It's interesting how that is. But yeah, Chase gets his Energem. You have to wonder why Murata had it and how she obtained it, but whatever, she had it. So he grabs it. He ends up gaining his, you know, the power of the Energem, and that's how he gained his Energem, and that's how he gained the power to become the Black Ranger. So interesting. Okay, so we then. And we hear that Murata says when he's on his skateboard, he's focused. And that's something that I mentioned before. It's true. When he's on his skateboard, he's focused. And he actually tells the Rangers before they go off to speak to Murata that when he's on his skateboard, he was able to be focused, and the green eyes did not affect him or whatever. He didn't refer to it as the green eyes, but he referred to it as that, like, as this sensation in his mind where he was feeling pain and feeling under someone's control or something like that. But yeah, so then following this, we end up seeing some really awesome fight scenes. One thing that I will add is that, I mean, we've seen a load of this in some of the previous episodes, but we actually got to see some, you know, more fight scenes in this episode. We ended up seeing, and not to mention the other thing is that, so last episode we got to see Curio for the first time. Curio actually gets to fight in this episode. Curio fights Shelby, Riley and Coda fight Wrench, and Tyler ends up fighting a Spellbinder. Now, what ends up happening is that they each end up fighting each of these enemies, and at one point, Riley, Tyler, and Coda ended up being like stopped and put in an area where they're weak and they feel pain, while Shelby is hidden away. Spellbinder uses his beam on those three and manages to change their eyes. The thing is that and so that three of them were under his control. Now, the thing is that the only one that actually he did anything in regard to doing anything with that was Chase. He ends up telling Chase, because he sees that only three of them were, because Spellbinder sees that only three of them were affected by it, because the fourth one, he doesn't know for a fact where it is. I mean, he has an idea, but he doesn't actually see her. Spellbinder tells Chase to go and find Shelby and put her under and kill and like destroy Shelby. And Chase almost does that, but the thing is that Shelby sees a skateboard nearby, and for some reason which you have to wonder, like, why would there be a skateboard there in the first place? And it's not even like a regular skateboard, it's like a wooden board that has like wheels on it, really. That's really what it is. Regardless of that, I mean, yeah, I think it's like, why would that even be there? Whatever. Shelby ends up kicking the skateboard towards Chase. Chase ends up on it, and his eyes start like changing back to normal. He ends up concentrating, and that's when Chase eventually ends up breaking the spell, which you have to wonder, how is that even possible? Because it's like, how would him being on that like do that? And then suddenly after that, the other Rangers like feel fine. It's not like they even were like, it's like they were affected for 2 seconds, and just because Chase ended up gaining, ended up focusing for 2 seconds more, that's him focusing results in them becoming unaffected. This makes no sense at all, but regardless, I'm just saying, like, that doesn't make any sense at all. I will tell you that much right now. It sort of seems like, what? How is Chase the one that controls the others, yet Spellbinder's the one that like ended up putting them under the brainwash? I have no idea how that makes any sense, but whatever. Anyway, they ended up the spell ended up breaking or whatever. I mean, the thing is that obviously Chase ends up following this shooting Spellbinder. That could have been the reason why the spell ended up disappearing. That's my only logical sense of how this is possible. Because obviously, as I mentioned before, Spellbinder has been able to avoid attacks, and maybe he was able to shoot the device that was on his chest, and that resulted in the spell breaking off. That's the only logical sense I could see. But overall, it looked kind of like an awkward moment where it just sort of seemed like, okay, now you're free, but then the other ones are just free also. It's like, what's going on here? I think that's the only logical sense I could see. I mean, that does happen where he ends up shooting him, so that could be what it was. And that actually probably makes the most sense. Following this, we end up seeing the Rangers all together, and they end up using the Dino Spiker. They end up morphing, and then they end up using the Dino Spiker. Now, the one thing I wanted to mention about the Dino Spiker is that it's required that all 5 of them take part in it in some way. Because the Dino Spiker, if anyone's curious, it's basically the combination of all 5 of their individual weapons together. So if you've seen a lot of previous seasons, this is a pretty common thing. It's not in every season, but it's definitely in a number of seasons where they combine all their weapons together to create one big weapon. It's happened in a lot of seasons, not all. So yeah, that's interesting. So we get to see that combination, we get to see that attack, and that instantly destroys Spellbinder. But then, of course, Sledge uses the Magna Beam on Spellbinder. Spellbinder gets massive, and then for once we get to see Chase use his Zord, which is a Parazord, and the Raptor Zord, I believe it was. No, Raptor Zord, right, because the Parazord's Riley's. So we end up seeing the Pararaptor formation, which is the combination between Riley's, Tyler's, and Chase's Zords. So all the Zords have been used at least once now, and we get to see that combination, which in Japan would be Western mode. And the fight scenes that happen in this part are pretty much ripped directly from it, but it looks a lot nicer just visually. It could just be that it has a nice glossy or HD update than I've seen in the past. But just in general, it looked really nice. It has all the same visuals in regard to what they could have done in regard to like Western mode, with like the looking like a battle, that a shoot-off or something like that. It looked like that in regards to the fact that he's just like that. It looks like it's like the Old West, and the sun's going down, and it's at that sunset point. But in the end, he ends up destroying. They end up destroying Spellbinder in that formation, and they end up using an attack known as, I'm actually gonna look it up because they actually use a specific attack, and I even wrote it down. They end up using Megazord Fireball Finish. That's what it's called. That was their finishing attack, and it does look like a fireball. They actually gave it a real name. Megazord Fireball Finish. Cool. Okay. Actually, wait, another thing about the Megazord might have actually been, no, actually, I believe the Megazord is Chase's, now that I think about it, probably. Whatever. Then we see Sludge complaining about how he should have just claimed the reward for Spellbinder and gotten the money that way, and that way he would have been able to get a better monster. But then we end up seeing that the device that Spellbinder used still has some magical capabilities. So Sludge ends up telling Wrench, why don't we hold on to that device just in case, because that magic still exists, so maybe we can take advantage of it in the future. We then see Chase talking to Murata and saying his goodbyes to her, and that's nice. And lastly, we end up seeing the scene where Coda ends up telling Chase, today's your day to clean up the area around the museum. And the thing is that Chase says, okay, I'm gonna get on my skateboard and I'm gonna do it. So he gets on the skateboard and he uses a mop and he goes around and cleans the place, because that's a good way for him to focus. Obviously, he says like, no distractions. I'm just gonna do it that way. And we see him ride off, and then Shelby looks at the actual schedule for who's doing what each day, and she actually sees that today's Coda's day, and she says like, Coda, today's your day. And Coda says, well, I guess he might be focusing on his task, but he's not focusing on the schedule. And then that ends off the episode as a joke, and it's very sweet. And then that's basically it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and tell me what you guys think overall of this episode. I personally loved it. I thought it was a good episode. I'm glad that we finally got some real story about Chase, and just so that we now know why he matters, because to be honest with you, we know plenty about Coda, we now know a good amount about Chase, we had a pretty good sense of Tyler. Riley we have a decent amount of knowledge of. I mean, the one that we know the least of out of the 5 of them right now is probably Shelby. That's the one character we know the least of out of all 5 of them. And even so, she still has enough information. Chase really didn't have any information prior to this episode. So I'm really happy to see this episode and really just understand why he's important and why should we care about him. Because personally, I like him a lot, and I really wanted to, up to this point, really get to know who he was. I loved Coda in the previous episode, but this episode definitely was nice to finally see, because I definitely wanted to see what makes Chase tick and why should we care about him, because he seems like a cool guy, and I'm happy to see it all. So I hope you guys enjoyed this again. Again, this has been Crazy Samurai 71. Please follow me on Twitter also at Crazy Samurai 71. And thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.